Hello! So it's another Monday Mystery Meeting, and as you can see, sat next to me, we have two fantastic people. We have Chris and Pat Newey here to join us on a Monday for you, a Thursday for us, as we are looking at just talking about what's going on in lives during the second lockdown. Oh, as we record this, lockdown started today for the second time. So thank you, Chris and Pat, for joining us. So hello.
Hello, Steve.
So do you want to, obviously people watch this from Riverside, people also watch this who don't come to Riverside, which is awesome. So do you want to just tell us a bit about yourselves?
Yes, Pat and I met each other 49 years ago.
Wow, I'm sorry, Pat.
It's a shame, isn't it?
I'll give you a little insight to our meeting. We were both using drugs because we're hippies, because we go back that far. We knew each other 2 weeks when we got married. We were taking LSD when I proposed to her.
Wow.
And that, you know, that thing where it says drugs will ruin your life. Well, that's a reality now to me.
Yeah. Oh, Pat, I'm so sorry.
All right, Steve. I didn't like him, and I thought if I marry him, I can make him suffer for the rest of his life. So I've got my own back.
She's done a lovely job with it as well, trust me. So we've been together now 49 years, man and boy. Obviously, it'll be our 50th next year.
Wow.
And I'll tell you the reason we came to know the Lord is because I was done for supplying. I was looking at 14 years back in 1976.
Yeah.
And I got that scared. I was looking anywhere, you know. Anyway, a friend of mine who I got into drugs and then he became a Christian, introduced us to Christ. We gave our lives to Christ. And 7 months it took before I went to Worcester Crown Court. I got in the court. I was terrified because I didn't know what was going on. Even though people had said, don't worry, God's told us you're not going to jail. Well, it's okay when you're outside the court. When you're in the dock and you've got a main judge looking at you, it scares you to death. Anyway, he said to the guy I sold this to, I won't mention his name, he said, Mr. So-and-so, I'm sending you to prison for 2 years. And as for you, Mr. Newey, I'm thinking, oh my word. He said, I don't know why, but I have to give you a suspended sentence.
Wow.
God works, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
God works, and I'll tell you, it just blew my mind. And you know, with all the stuff that's gone on in our life, you know, we've never, ever wanted to walk away from him, ever. And he's never left us, even in the roughest times, you know, when you think life's really going wrong. No, with God, life does not go the wrong way. We go the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I just want to correct you for a little second, right? We're not on lockdown. We're on a different path at the moment. That's all we're on. Because if you're in lockdown, it reminds me of American jails, you know, when there's riots and stuff. No, we're not we are on a different path. And if we learn to walk that path, then we'll be a lot happier than thinking we're being locked up.
Yes.
And a little positive for this morning.
It's a good reminder, Chris. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Pat, how do you put up with him?
With difficulty. I just ignore him. You sit him in front of the TV and he's happy and he never says anything.
I didn't know that. That's a good trick to use. Thank you.
It's Andy Pandy though these days. Which a lot of the people watching this won't even know who Andy Pandy was. But never mind.
See, my brother used to watch Andy Pandy, but sadly, I'm a little too young for Andy Pandy.
I gathered that. So.
Sorry, mate. So, can you tell us a bit about maybe how was this pandemic season? Has it changed anything for you both? What has it been like for this pandemic season?
Well, I didn't mind the first lockdown, really. I shouldn't have said lockdown.
But you're okay. I'll beat you after.
I like my own company and I like staying in, and I was quite happy tootling around the house and reading and doing jigsaw puzzles and bits and bobs like that.
Wow. So actually for you, it was just a nice chance just to do those sort of things really and keep going.
And I had a load of paperwork to do because, as you know, my mum passed away the end of last year, and I did all the probate and the inheritance tax all on my own.
Wow.
But I'm still waiting for all that to come through. But
yeah.
So that kept me busy for a bit as well.
Wow. My goodness. So you've been busy throughout, well, I say busy, you've had things to do during this pandemic season, but just in and around your own house.
Yeah, and the house that we're moving into because
I
that
know,
was
like,
went down there and did bits and bobs and had a barbecue because the garden's nicer than ours down there. And yeah, it was okay.
Because you were supposed to be moving, was it next week, the week after?
It could have been last month. We thought it would be either last month, this month, or next month. But because now we've got this new path that we're taking, who knows when we're going to, it is what it is. I mean, we just, it is what it is. And you just have to get a positive outlook on it and think, well, okay, it'll either come or it won't come. You can't change that. The reality is you can't change it. And it will come, but you just don't know when.
The only thing is we've got a lot of the furniture down there. So if we're still here for Christmas, we'll be having Christmas dinner on trays on our lap because the table and chairs is at the other house.
But at least Chris will be in front of the telly so you can have it in quiet.
Right,
Jingle bells all the way. And with what I do, I was getting out because of, I look on farms and things. And that's all I'm going to say. And I just was, I was able to take my dog for a run, and I'll get out in the fresh air. So yeah, it was okay. You think it's the thing is, you see, as you get older, you ain't got so much to do. You know what I mean? Younger people, they go out and they do this, they do that. But when you get older, you sort of it gets easier. I know that might sound silly, but it does get easier because you limit yourself to what you do, and then you're not striving for stuff you don't need to be doing. So it was quite easy, really. But winter might be different because obviously it's going to be darker, longer days. But who knows? We'll see. Different path.
Would you say over the last 7 months you've had any big challenges? Then what has been the most challenge, the most challenging thing of this season? Or is it just something that you've just walked through day in, day out?
Yeah, I think that's it. You've got that at the back of your mind. I hope I don't get this. Be like everyone else. But when you know, if you get your mindset that you know that you can't change this, that helps, right? And you just live within that knowing that you've got to do this, that, and it's quite simple, really.
And we miss seeing the family. We were hoping to go to New Zealand this year because their son and his wife have just had a little baby, and we were going to go over. But she's 6 months now, so she'll probably be about 2 by the time we get there.
Wow.
But at least you've got Skype and you can see them and talk to them.
Yeah. And I think that's probably been one of the most consistent things people have found challenging. It is that I can't see my family or the opportunity to see family as we'd like. And a lot of us have talked about the benefits of having Skype and FaceTime and all of that, which has been great. And I dread to think where we'd be without those tools. But at the same time, whilst that's great, it is no replacement, is it, for that?
No.
Being in the same room as someone.
Holding and that warmth that comes from each other. No, but at least it's something which is good.
Yeah.
And we have missed the fellowship of the church. It's been really lovely going to Clementine, or Love at Clementine, whichever you want to call it, and seeing people there. And it's just been, it was nice to see people that you haven't seen for a while. And the bacon sandwiches are okay as well.
I know, buying the butcher's bacon. Wow.
Oh, don't tell him about the vegan sausages, though. But if you're in this, they were real ones, really.
But I must say that has been one of the benefits of opening the Ministry of Just Love at Clementine's, isn't it? It's the fact that you can go and not just have a nice place to go and have, something to eat and something to drink, but I would go for an hour, and actually it would take me 2 hours because I'd bump into so many different people in the building that I hadn't seen. And that was such a lovely thing to be able to do, wasn't it? It's been an added bonus in a challenging season.
Can I just share a little story? You can edit it out if you want, right? But we were in there last week with Chris and Elaine, and I'm always quiet and reserved, and nobody knows I'm there normally. And anyway, this couple came in, and Jerry, right, she put her arms around them and ushered them away from them, saying, "Well, you don't want to sit down here, come upstairs," which was really, really funny. I thought it was funny anyway. So
it just shows, Chris, we're trying to keep people safe.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. From me.
So obviously we talked about the challenges, which really it's been that family contact more than anything. Have you seen God breaking through at all in this season?
I think so, yeah. We've got friends that were Jehovah's Witnesses. They've now come away from the church. COVID does not stop God working.
That's right.
And when people look for miracles, we see them every day. You get up, you take a breath. Your first breath in the morning is a miracle. You don't deserve that. We have no right to that breath. And I love life. I don't know whether you notice that about me, but I do. And You know, every morning I get up and have a break. I might be grumpy the rest of it, but as soon as I wake up, I'm happy. But then it just goes downhill from there. No, you know what I'm saying.
I do.
Yeah, we took our Jehovah's Witness friends to Clementine's, and they loved it that much. They phoned up and said, "Will you book us a table for next week?"
Wow.
Yeah.
See, and they've found a safe, comforting, loving place where they can be themselves, and hopefully that will be a step up for them on the pathway to the kingdom of God. Hopefully.
Well, you've just got to be there. I mean, they know that, you know, what we believe, and I don't sort of overpower them with that, because I don't think that's my job. I think that's the Holy Spirit's job. But it's just incredible how God is working in their lives, you know. And they've left a few times and gone back, and he decided, that's it, I'm done this time. They've burnt all the stuff. He doesn't agree with that. And, you know, I'm not running the Jehovah's Witness down, because that's not my place. But, you know, it was a hard place for them to be. And they've got a lot of unlearning to do, because they've learned some really untruths about what God is, who God is. And that needs to be broken down, because they're still seeing in the same eyes. So God needs to really work by his Spirit in their lives to make sure that, you know, they can see through that.
And God has been breaking through, and I say our prayer is this is a step for them on the pathway to being in close relationship with him, which is so important, isn't it? And God can do that and has been doing that at this time. So many people have been exploring faith, exploring questions, you know, logging onto church services more than ever before. So as much as not even meeting in the building has been really frustrating, actually more people have engaged with the church service who don't know God than would have if we were open. That's amazing.
Isn't that unbelievable? You're not open, but you've got more people. That's not right. That's back to front. But then God's a back to front God, isn't he?
And that is the thing. God is a back to front God. He turns everything upside down. You know, he's like, die to yourself, love your enemies. You know, all of that is back to front teaching, but it's countercultural, but it's his way, and it's phenomenal, isn't it?
It works.
It does. Yeah, it works. And so really, we're into a season now where obviously people are going to a second time of lockdown and all of that. What is the best practical advice you can give people at this time, just to stay positive, to keep, you know, stepping into what God has? And what is the best practical advice you could give?
Stop listening to people talking about lockdown's the best idea, and talking about the new direction. You just did it again.
Sorry.
No, you know, just look at it, right? This is how I look at it. And no, you have to sort your own way out. But look, I don't believe I'm on lockdown. I didn't believe the first one, did I? Do you remember we had the conversation? Because if you believe you're on lockdown, then you're locked down, you're locked up. Right? If you believe you're just walking another path for a little while, a few months, maybe, I don't know, who knows how long the path is. But if you walk that path with God, right, you'll be okay. You don't need to be, please, take lockdown out of our vocabulary. Not you, but I mean everyone, because we don't want to lock ourselves up. Because it's just a different routine. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. I remember you saying to me the word was we weren't locked down, we're being insulated. And I love that, because insulation is protection, not enclosed. And actually that's right. We're being insulated and protected at this time. And can we see this time as a protection period rather than a restriction period? I think that's a great mental change that will have a massive effect on our lives.
Yeah, well, I just want people to not be locked down. I want people be freed from lockdown. Yeah. One more thing on what I've learned. My harmonica playing's got a little better while we've been on this different path. And I now know when I'm listening to the service, I play along a little bit. And I've got 7 harmonicas, and I might sometimes have to blow 1 or 2. But then that one goes, that's in the key of A, key of G. And I tell you, I would not have learned that if we hadn't been on this path. It's good, I'm happy.
New opportunity and new doors opening up, and that's seeing those opportunities and seeing those doors. Already this morning, I was reading Luke 24, where the 2 disciples are on the road to Emmaus, you know, and they're talking on the road, and they go, Jesus has just died on the cross. The women went to see the tomb and he was gone. They told us he was alive. Peter went to the tomb. He agreed with them. And yet still, these 2 disciples were walking away on the road to Emmaus. And I'm like, you've just been told he's alive and you know it. And yet you still can't see what it means for you. And sometimes we know these things, but actually we haven't seen them. And I think actually this is an opportunity. We can hear that, but I think we need to see this as an opportunity to not miss out on what Jesus is doing. Jesus is walking with us in our homes, in our insulation, and he can be at work all the time, can't he?
Yes, but my favourite part of that Road to Emmaus event was, and their hearts were strangely warmed.
Yeah.
You know, that became something, not a mental thing, not a knowledgeable thing. It was just, I think the Holy Spirit just permeated their whole body and made them feel warm and furry. And you know, I've always loved that last little bit, you know, when he revealed himself to them.
And for me, it shows that God cares about us as a person. He does want to fill us with knowledge, but he wants to fill our hearts as well to give us that. And that's what he did in that meeting on the road to rest. He warmed their hearts because they were so sorrowful and so downcast. And that's one of the things that I've been praying for, not just for the folk of Riverside, but the folk of the country and the world at this time, that they would know Jesus in their hearts. So even when they feel a little lost by what's going on around them, they have that warmth of Christ within them, because that's what can bring us through.
I agree with it 100%. And the thing is, that's what we have. We really have. And you know, what does he say? He's an anchor. Right? What does an anchor do? It ties you down, but not in the same way. It's so you don't drift the wrong direction. You know, when the tide changes, the anchor holds you in a safe place.
That's right.
You don't willy-nilly, you know, you want to go right and it takes you left. You go straight down. You can edit this bit. I'm just going off on one. You know how I get on, Steve. But yeah, this is how, you know, you have to see things how you see them. And because I think every Christian has a different story from God and to God. And, you know, we shouldn't all think the same thing, because then we'd be silly people. God gives us a really beneficial thing, that we know him in different ways, even though it's the same. You know what I'm trying to say? You know, God is personal to us. Edit this out if you want. I'm just mumbling a bit.
He's made us all different, though, hasn't he? And because he's made us all different, he will engage with us in the way that he made us, which is so important to remember.
And I can just verify this by, you know, sometimes I have words and pictures, and it's always about either work I've done, like I work in the building trades, I'll get cement mixers or guttering or something like that, right? Yeah. If I started talking about, you know, when I was in the operating theatre, I wouldn't have an idea of what I was saying. So God meets you who you are and speaks through you in the way that you are.
Yeah, definitely. And really, just, I can't believe it's been nearly 20 minutes already. One last question, really. What can we be praying for? What do you think the church should be praying for the country, the world? And what can we be praying for you both as well?
I always find this really difficult, you know. It is a difficult question, and even though it's a simple question. For us, you can just be praying that, you know, that we're safe, just in the safety.
Just to keep us safe, and that we'd be reunited with our family.
Yeah, you know, just like for everyone, we want that prayer.
Yeah.
So the prayer for us, that's what we would like for the rest of the world. That, you know, we would soon be reunited with our loved ones, and this dreadful thing. You know what? You know, all these horrible things, right? You've got cancer begins with C, right? You've got COVID, and you've got Christ. I've always had these weird, like, word associations. So COVID and cancer, you need Christ in that situation.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's almost like they're using these C words to counteract who Christ is. It's weird. I mean, these are just the weird things that go through my mind, right? And you edit this out, but I'm just trying to say, you know, you've got these two vile things that take people, and you've got another C thing that saves people.
Yeah.
And on that, I think we'll finish, Steve, because
it's you know what, to end on Christ is always the best thing. You know, last night the prayer meeting, Miriam put on the feed for the prayer meeting, we need to focus on the big C of Christ and not on the little C of COVID. And actually, yeah. That is the biggest prayer.
I'll be honest, I wasn't even on the prayer meeting last night.
No, see, God, Holy Spirit is speaking, mate, and that's what I love. He's uniting us together and that's what happens when he puts things on our hearts. It happens across people. We don't even have to be in the same room.
That's right.
So I want to thank you both for joining us for 20 minutes. Everyone at home doesn't know, but we had so many technical issues getting onto this. But Chris and Pat persevered. They got their grandson involved in their bubble. It was awesome. And because of that, they're here with us. So I want to thank you both, Chris and Pat. I want to thank your grandson for making this possible as well. But just look after each other, and we'll speak soon, all right?
Thank you.
Bye.